And now it's time for video number 2. Why is this bank? This is from an article from the Wealth Watchman. And I'm not going to read this in full because it's kind of long. So I'm going to read a few pieces of it, parts of it. Why is this bank being JP Morgan, I'll tell you now, stockpiling silver like there's no tomorrow? If physical silver's arch nemesis is suddenly stockpiling silver bars at a pace that is only rivaled by the nation of India, which is massively importing gold and silver, especially silver recently, it's only because the system itself has run its course. The system that the banksters set up and used. It's at the end of its lifespan. We need to prepare for the end of this problem. And there's nothing else left to steal. As I've long stated, this is this person speaking, I expect the big escape of silver's price to only occur once their system is done. So what makes this bank know that has caused it to... what does this bank know that has caused it to suddenly start stockpiling silver like there's no tomorrow? And I got my own little thought about that, but we'll talk about that in a second. Another day, another completely expected gold and silver COMEX smackdown. While we stacking warriors have done some of our best fighting during these past few months and years, some of our critics have only grown louder on days like today. That's okay. Let them preen and squawk all they want to. It makes no difference to me. After all, there is so much going on behind the scenes, which continues to point to silver being the place to be, that the evidence is overwhelming at this stage. Case in point, last week you'll remember that this guy, mentioned over 11 million ounces of silver moved either in or out of the COMEX system within 5 business days. A record, to be sure, but there's more to the story than just a mere tonnage of silver that was transferred. What I didn't make mention of at the time was that a certain party was forcing the issue by raking in most of that 11 million ounces to themselves. You see, a very prominent bank, JP Morgan, certainly agrees with us silver stackers that silver is more important than ever. They're back. Yes, Old Faithful is back again. Of course, they never really left silver and have been rigging it nonstop in the futures paper market. But for a while there were at least no admissions of newly stacked silver being made in the COMEX warehousing facilities. Yet after a 16-month period of dormancy within the COMEX warehouse vaults, these guys have returned with a vengeance. In fact, our old buddies at JP Morgan Chase not only see value in silver here, but they're currently standing for delivery in their own house account in such strong numbers that it commands our attention. And let me show you what I mean. Here's the last several days of the COMEX's recent silver deliveries to JP Morgan. And we're going to start from the 7th of April to the 16th. 1.1 million ounces. Almost 3 million ounces. 900,000 ounces. 1.2 million ounces. 1 million ounces. 1.2 million ounces. Almost 2 million ounces. That's a lot of silver in a few days. This is a huge bout of deliveries in such a short span of time. In fact, within the realm of COMEX world, it's such an exceptionally large amount that it even creates quite a spike on the long-term chart of JP Morgan's vault stockpile. I'm going to stop here at this article. There's a bit more to read on that, quite a bit. And I wanted you to remember something I said recently. And I said, I've looked at previous charts during Great Depression, not so Great Depression, stock market crashes, whatever. And I said there's not a definitive thing that gold and silver does each and every time we experience that. Sometimes it goes up. Sometimes it doesn't really do anything. Sometimes it went down with it a bit. So there's no real rhyme or reason. Naturally, because this whole time it's been rigged. But you can't look back and say, well, I'm going to do it this time because, the last 7 times in a row it went up. There's data that doesn't say that. So I mentioned that if this big collapse happens later this year, and let's just say it is absolutely September, October, and not only does it start, it really hits hard and it is clear to everybody, oh my God, it's definitely happening. Let's just say that goes just like that. I said to you, I don't know that automatically means gold and silver are going to come down and they're going to smash it one last time and use that whole thing as the excuse, and then behind the scenes scoop it up for themselves, the physical. By using the fake nonsense paper price of destroyed value silver, the bankers would then take, blood on the street prices, as I say, the silver and or gold, and stockpile it massively while this is happening, only to find out a short while later the prices absolutely skyrocket and make these banks even filthier rich than they are. That's a possibility. And I said, I don't know if you're going to want to wait, if you got some cash on the side right now, and you want to wait for this potential opportunity of silver crashing down one last time, final hurrah of downward momentum, and then scoop it up yourself and do as the bankers do. I said the issue with that is, number one, if I don't have any silver and I'm thinking about getting some, I am not going to chance that this event of crashing prices may happen, because it might not. But I said if you already have silver, you're comfortable with the amount you have, but you still want to get some more, I said you might want to chance it and wait and see, because you might be able to get some more bang for your buck. However, with $16 silver right now, does it really even matter? The prices of silver right now are great. So the other side is, what if the price pretty much stays where it's at, roughly, in that $16 to $17 silver range and the $1,200 gold range, where they keep forcing it back down as soon as it rises past that. And it sits there and you're waiting, okay, bad news, derivatives crisis today, oh my gosh, markets in turmoil, what's gold and silver doing? Oh my God, they spiked hugely. Oh my God, Webbot, oh my God, $5 move today in silver, holy crap, upwards, oh man, now it's $21. Damn it, I should have got in at 16. And then you're going to rush in right there on the spot, because you're not going to think, it's going to crash down now. You're going to do what everyone else does when the market's going crazy. You're going to jump in now. I got to get it now. Right? Human reaction. Typical. So there are those two scenarios. Either one could happen. We could see a huge crashing of prices, followed at whatever time is determined, I guess, by the club or the world waking up and deciding they want their silver and gold too, causing a problem which causes the price to rise or whatever, or for whatever other reason. But when I hear this story I just read to you, that JP Morgan, today is April 21st, 2015. Not September or October 2015, when we expect this economic issue to happen. So my question to you is, why is JP Morgan stockpiling massive amounts of silver, physical silver, at today's prices in their own house account vault, etc.? If JP Morgan already knows that, in September, October, we're really going to smash the price. And then they would go and get it. That's how they operate. They want blood on the streets before they buy any of their assets. They don't even pay, as I've said, they don't even pay a fair market price. They don't even pay under fair market price for anything. They destroy something and take it. Remember Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, and that sort of thing? Whatever their stock price was like $70, $80, and then 2008 happened, and then it went down to like $1. And then, the club offered them, $2 per share to buy them out. That's blood on the streets. So the club is not going to pay $16 for silver when they know they can push it to $5, $8, $10, whatever, and then go get it. At the same time, if for some reason this massive stockpiling of silver isn't for JP Morgan, number one, who the hell is it for? Why do they have so much of it? If, in fact, we do see a massive price crash at the end of this year because of the derivatives crisis that explodes. That's a valid question. Why are you stockpiling that much silver, physical silver, not paper contracts, physical delivered silver, right now at this price? Now, naturally, I would say, well, then they know the price of silver in the future is going to be a lot higher, so they want to secure the silver at today's prices. That would make sense to a normal person, whether you know about silver or not. So, I mean, are signs pointing that silver's not going to go down past where it's at now, including when the big stock market worldwide collapse starts happening? Don't know. But this is interesting, I would say, to say the least. And we're not talking about some other big bank. Because even if it was some other big bank, I would still say everything I just said. Because it would make the same sense. The issue here is the finger has always been pointed at JP Morgan as the big short position holder, master of all freaking, owner of all paper futures contracts. Most of them, which is why they can move the price wherever they want. They sell it to the right hand buys them all up. Price goes up too high, they start flooding the market, left hand buys them back up after it goes down to a certain price. And they just shuffle like a slinky. There we go here. So if this is the entity that's been doing it for all these years, it's not some bank, it is the bank, JP Morgan, the one that we've all pointed the finger at. The proof is being, the evidence is saying it's JP Morgan. Remember they came out, Blythe Masters, we don't rig the market. We don't even have short positions in long position. We maintain a neutral position, but we have clients that use us as the clearinghouse or whatever. So they're doing the bidding through you as the intermediary. Oh, and who is that quote unquote client with apparently pockets that never end? Because when they've lost money, it didn't matter. When they make money, of course it doesn't matter. Lose more money in the short when they should have went long when they should have went short, makes no difference. This client apparently just doesn't care. Well, the client to me sounds like probably a federal government, maybe one called the United States government. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. However, again, if you're in the know, and JP Morgan is, and you're sitting here watching, that's a interesting thing I saw, dormant. All of a sudden, floodgates open up. You're stockpiling massive amounts of silver. And I'm just thinking again, Webbot report. Long time ago. First thing to ever talk about the death of the dollar. Came out of the Webbot reports, never left since. Still in there. And the stuff it talked about regarding the death of the dollar over all these years is phenomenally accurate. Way before all of these things that point to the death of the dollar even happening. Russia leaving, China leaving, creating their own block of currencies, creating their own little IMF thing, all that. Webbot talked about all kinds of stuff, scenarios like this that would happen. And here they are years later, happening exactly as it said. So by chance, as I always have said about this thing, this tool, this Webbot report, or the multiple reports that they've produced, one of those things in the long-term data that's been around forever with that same death of the dollar stuff and other things was the massive spiking in price of gold and silver. And it talked about you're going to see $5 per day moves in silver. Followed by, don't know the length of time followed by, $20 a day moves. If silver's $16 today, you can't have a $20 move, can you? Downwards. Because that's minus, negative territory. And the last time I checked, mining companies don't pay us to mine it, for them to mine it and then give it to us. And then pay us $4 additional on top of that. Here you go. No. So that means silver is going to be considerably higher. You have the former Federal Reserve Chairman, Alan Greenspan, asked privately at a little private party thing, where the hell he was at. Sir, where do you see the price of precious metal, gold and precious metals in the next few years? Well, in the next 5 years, I would say considerably higher. You don't say. You don't say. Do not forget. the rule changes by the CME group at the end of last year. I think it was the end of last year. New circuit breakers. If gold moves $100 during any time during the trading session for the day, circuit breakers kick in. You can't trade for X amount of minutes. Trading stops. If trading resumes and it happens again, another $100, trading stops. But I think it only can happen 3 or 4 times, if I remember, during the day. And then after that, I didn't see any more circuit breaker stuff. It goes wherever it's going to go. Silver, on the other hand, I think was a $3 or $4 move would cause circuit breakers to kick in. And then same thing, you have like 4 times to do that in a day. So basically somewhere around $12 for the total day. If it moved that much, the circuit breakers would have kicked in 4 times. It's no trading. Silver's too volatile. And then it resumes, and then it goes crazy. Up, pause. Okay, ready to go. Goes crazy. Pause. After 4 times, I believe, if I remember correctly, then there's no more circuit breakers. It just, whatever's going to happen today, it's going to happen. So if the CME group, who has never in the history of the COMEX market, since it's been around, ever implemented a rule, because they are the rule maker, by the way, privately owned CME group, has never implemented a rule like this, ever. And they just quietly did it several months ago. Nothing's happened. I haven't seen no circuit breakers, that's for sure. Gold and silver have barely moved because they keep getting pushed. 1200, 1220, up, down to 1200. Silver, 16, 17, 18, nope, back down to 16. Gold, 12, 1205, 1210, up, back down to 12. They're holding it there. If the CME group made that rule change, what do you think and I already discussed this in videos when this happened. What do you think is going to happen to the price of precious metals sometime? Can't give you the date and time, but in the near future. In the near future could be a year or 2 out. I don't know for sure. But as I've said since the first day I've been stacking silver, I don't care. We're not talking 20 or 30 years or 50 years. No. There's no way it's going to take that kind of time. And when I started stacking, it was 2007, by the way. So that was also when silver was, $13 and I got some silver then. Of course, I've got it all over the place, but I'm in a comfortable spot with what I have. Sure, we all would like more silver. Who wouldn't? And I'm at that point where I'm telling myself I'm not going to buy any more right now. I've met multiple goals that I've set. And at the end of this year, if we see this big collapse happen and it happens like we thought or whatever, whether it happens like we thought or not, doesn't matter. But if the price of silver gets hit by it, whatever happens, and comes down a good bit, don't think for another second I won't just do a quick little purchase. Got to capitalize, because that's going to be, if it happens, it will be the last devastating move for silver. I could pretty much assure anybody on that. I feel that confident. So, as I say, the proof is in the pudding. J.P. Morgan, the culprit of silver manipulation, is now stockpiling massive amounts of physical silver. That's the old case of the kettle calling the pot black, isn't it? You guys should stay away from silver. Don't mess with silver. We'll push the price down underneath if you touch silver. Hey, don't you guys have a whole massive amount of silver? Who, us? No. Oh, yeah. Kettle calling the pot black. So this is an interesting story. Had to share it with you. It's just one more tool, one more piece of information that lets you know you made the right decision when you decided, I'm going to go all out on some silver or gold. And as I've always said, you're going to be real happy with the price of gold when this all goes down. You're not going to be happy with what's happening around you, but you can't control that. But what you can control is dealing with it in advance somewhat, and that is getting your precious metal secured. But you're going to be real happy with the price of gold. And And I'm here to tell you, when you see what silver does performance-wise, you'll be doing backflips. Choose your poison. Pick your poison. Gold or silver. I'm going with silver because one of the other things the Webbot had been talking about for a long time was that the currently, 70 to 1 ratio with gold, 70 ounces of silver buys 1 ounce of gold roughly right now. Or maybe 75. I don't know the exact amount right this second. But historically, thousands of years, it's been between 16 and 20. If that happened today, the price of silver would explode way higher. Way higher. And the Webbot said, by the way, it's going to. And it's not just going to do it like where the price is now. Oh, we're going to see $60, $70 silver. No. You're going to see gold going crazy, silver going crazy, and then that ratio coming into a nice little median somewhere back where it belongs. And he said, we have data, and I'm going to report on it because it's in the report, Webbot reports, that shows 10 to 1 with gold, at least at some point, fairly briefly according to the data. And it even looks like it may go parity very, very briefly with gold, which would mean if gold was $5,000, parity would mean silver is $5,000 an ounce. My gut, whatever knowledge, info in my brain tells me that's crazy. It can't go 1 to 1 with gold. And the Webbot's not perfect. It doesn't get everything right because it's always left up to interpretation of the person, in this case Cliff High, reading it and putting it in a form so the rest of us can read. But the gist of this, the general situation here is that it's going way higher. Do you think I'm going to be upset if I saw, damn it, silver didn't go to parity? Gold was $1,000, $5,000. Freaking stupid silver only went to $1,000. No. Don't be a bozo. So that's all I got for you. I just want to share this. Very interesting times. And as much as it may hurt later on this year, I got to say, I can't wait to see what happens. I'm going to be honest. I can't wait to see what happens later this year. Good or bad. Because, again, if they've got it planned, it's going to happen. Whether I say I can't wait to see it, and it sounds like, well, what's wrong with you? Why do you want that to happen? Why do you want that to happen, Jason? I don't want it to happen. But if it's going to happen, and I think I've got information, Lindsey Williams, Webbot, whatever, that says it's this later this year, and then it happens, it'll be kind of exciting to say, wow, I'm one of a few people in the world, which, thousands of us or however many are out there, we're still few in considering the world's population, that knew this, that it was going to happen, and it did. Oh my God, and surely enough, silver and gold are skyrocketing just like we thought. And I'll be the first to admit it, I never thought it would take this long. When I first started doing this research and thinking I'm knowing stuff and learning stuff, I never thought it would take this long. But with the whole cycles, blood moon cycle, Schmidt cycle, all that stuff happening, IMF lady, Christine Lagarde giving her crazy occult speech about the cycles of 7, basically telling the elite it's on this seventh cycle, whatever, cycle of 7, which is, again, September, October of this year. When you have all that stuff adding up, I don't think the elite are going to say, you know what, let's push this off. And I thought, well, it would make sense if they did it like they did with Barack Obama taking office, because we had this issue right as he was already being elected and to be the president. I say elected. Really, I meant to say selected by the club. But you know what I mean. We voted, and he's in there. George Bush is coming out. He's stepping in. Can't blame either of them, really. It happened like right in the middle of that 2008 crisis, right? So I thought, well, why wouldn't they do it again? Which means they would need to wait till 2016, let all the sheeple vote, again, whether it matters or not, and then hit them with this crisis. That could make sense. And they could start the issue later this year and then extend it for the rest of the year, let it get a little worse, and then let all hell break loose after you've already voted and we find out who the president is. They could do that. But I thought to myself, no matter what, Barack is on his second term. He's on his way out. So if they give him that last year to stay in office, 2015, and then 2016, right? That last year, and while he's in office, all hell breaks loose financially. You can't really blame it on him, right? That's what they're thinking. You can't blame it on him. He's been here for 8 years. So finally, he's almost on his way out, and this happened. You can't blame the president. That's what you're going to hear on the news if this happens this way. But it'll be a huge issue for all of us. Yeah, okay, we can't blame it on him. Okay, but what are you, Hillary, going to do about it? And Jeb Bush, what are you going to do about it? We want to know. And that's all that people will be focused on. And depending on what Hillary says she'll do and what Jeb Bush says he'll do, I'll switch to a Democrat if I have to. I'll switch back to a Republican and vote. And I've got news for all you morons who think that even matters. Presidents are selected, not elected. And I got something I'm going to share with you really quick on that note. And you'll see how I may upset you. What are you talking about, Jason? Man, come on, you got to vote, man. Okay. Hold that thought. Voting machines. Let me just go ahead and click on this little link if you don't mind. Voting machines decertified April 16th, 2015. Voting machines decertified for severe hacking risks. Let's take a look at that. AVS WinVote machines, which were used in at least 3 presidential elections since the year 2002 in several states, have been decertified in Virginia after an investigation found them to be easily hackable because they use simple default passwords such as admin or ABCDE. The vulnerabilities were so severe and so trivial to exploit that anyone with even a modicum of training could have succeeded. They didn't need to be in the polling place. Within a few hundred feet, such as the parking lot, is easy. And within a half mile, with a rudimentary antenna, built using a Pringles can or one of the directional, if you wouldn't paid for one, a directional antenna, said Jeremy Epstein of the nonprofit research group SRI International. Further, there are no logs or other records that would indicate if such a thing ever happened. So if an election was hacked any time in the past, we will never know. Epstein had served on a Virginia State Legislative Commission investigating the voting machines in 2008 and has been trying to get them decertified ever since they uncovered extremely lax security in the devices. The AVS WinVote is basically just a Windows XP embedded laptop with a touchscreen. And early versions of the software ran the Windows 2000, while later versions ran a simplified version of the operating system. Epstein said the WinVote system was certified as meeting the Voting System Standards, also known as VSS, of 2002, and subsequently approved for use in Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Mississippi. It was decertified a few years ago in Pennsylvania, and Mississippi also stopped using theirs a few years ago after some malfunction that I can't recall in Hinds County, Epstein said. A later version of the software was submitted for certification to the Election Assistance Commission, but never approved. I don't know if that version solved any of the problems described here. During the November 2014 election, the machines in one precinct repeatedly crashed, and it was suspected that the problems were due to interference from someone trying to download music using their iPhone while in the vicinity of the device. But that was never confirmed. The Virginia Information Technology Agency, the agency that provides IT services to the state government, investigated the problem and released a report which identified a variety of problems. Quote, I've been in the security field for 30 years, and it takes a lot to surprise me. But the VITA report really shocked me. As bad as I thought the problems were likely to be, VITA's 5-page report showed that they were far worse, Epstein said. And the win-vote system was so fragile that it hardly took any effort. So, if you can go a half mile and log into this thing remotely, you could have your people, or could you use an antenna on a very tall tower in a city with a very high powerful antenna and amplifier to connect to all of the voting machines within range, which could be miles and miles. I used to work at a company many years ago that did long-range Wi-Fi. The same technology you have in your house, the 802.11b at the time, which then turned into G and is now N. We would have these going up 100-foot tower, talking to other towers and even customers miles and miles away. And we had to follow, of course, the FCC guidelines. You can't have more than 1 full watt of power and this and that. Don't think for a second that if the club was wanting to rig some of these things and they needed some serious power, that they wouldn't just temporarily stick one up there and on voting day, okay, make them live so we can connect to, 15, 20 miles of radius of all these voting areas, all these precincts, where we can connect to them and rig them. What the heck is that? I'm going to share that with you. I'm that kind of guy. Where does something that size, which is a piece of broccoli, how is that in my mouth for the past 3 hours? And I didn't even know it, didn't even feel it until just now, as I'm giving you an epic speech. You ain't going to get that on nobody else's YouTube channel. You only going to get that on JSNIP 4. However, the issues, let me just close off on this. The issues the VITA report found included the wireless connection uses WEP, which is a very easy thing to crack, and a few minutes of wireless monitoring showed that the unchangeable encryption key was ABCDE. The system had not, that's one. Number two, the system had not been patched since 2004 and was running with several open ports with active services, essentially acting as servers ripe for data and exfiltration. 3. The system had a weak set of controls that could allow an attacker to get a DOS prompt, and the administrator default password was admin. The database was an obsolete version of Microsoft Access that used a very weak encryption key, and there are no controls to detect any tampering with the database, such as the changing of votes. And finally, the USB ports and other physical connectors were only marginally protected from physical tampering, and there was no protections in place to detect if someone were to plug something into one of the ports, leaving them vulnerable to replacement of the software, modification of voting results, and more. Now, going back to number 4, piqued my interest. The database was an obsolete version of Microsoft Access that used a very weak encryption key, and there are no controls to detect any tampering with the database. I don't know if I want to call myself an expert with Microsoft Access, but I got to tell you, I'm really good with Microsoft Access database. We use it at work. I have multiple front-end systems that use Microsoft Access that connect to a SQL Server database with a ton of VBA code. I know all about Microsoft Access. The fact that this was it wouldn't matter if it was a newer version of Access. Having the tables sitting there, all that one has to do is get access to that computer. And as long as you have Microsoft Access on your computer while you're connecting to that computer wirelessly, you will be able to open that database, get into those tables, and as the votes are coming in. Or you could wait, okay, we've got 5 more minutes left before the voting machine starts sending back its results. You go in, start modifying the hell. You can write a query in a matter of seconds and then run that query to tell it, update all these records. Column name such and such, which is basically the name of the person you're voting for. Switch, if column equals this, then change it to this. Go. Seconds later, done. Now, Microsoft Access over a network, especially a wireless network, usually sucks. It wouldn't be the snappiest thing, the quickest thing. But you're also not talking about a database that has even tens of thousands of records, much less hundreds of thousands of records, to where it would definitely bog down on you, potentially going over a network, wireless network. There's going to be thousands. We're talking about a single precinct where there's multiple voting machines. Not every single person that goes in uses the same machine. There's 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 machines. So each machine may only have a few thousand records in the database, its database. And again, you're already going to have your database application open on your laptop or whatever they're using, with connections active to all those on standby waiting. Okay, 5 minutes left, 10 minutes left, that's sufficient. Because if I change them, 75% of these things or whatever, and again, they're not going to go crazy. But if you recall, in Florida, areas that only had a certain number of voters, registered voters, somehow voted more than what was even allowable or recorded as being possible. How does that happen? Oh, Microsoft Access database. Because once you cast your vote, if you have to show an ID or a card, or I'm supposed to be at this voting precinct today, hey, take a look, Mr. whoever you are, Commissioner. Okay, when you go to that machine, it doesn't know who you are, doesn't ask who you are, you don't do anything. All it's saying is there's another person here in front of me, and I will continue taking as many people in front of me, creating a new record in the table for every person that comes in front of me and inputs who they vote. So, how did all these extra votes happen in Florida and other places? But I remember Florida. I'm from Florida. How could you have 125% voter turnout when there can only be 100% turnout? And that means that not one person, even at 100% turnout, stayed home that day, was sick. Everybody came to vote? That's not even possible. And they did. And the mass majority voted for Barack Obama. How can that be? How can it be? Someone accessing that database, adding additional records. Adding more records than what was in there. Simple as that. Not just editing and running the query to find anybody who voted this way, switch it to this way, or physically typing it themselves, whatever, which would take too long. They would run a query to do it. But not only that, let's just add a bunch of votes. Or maybe they decided the quickest thing would be, let's not mess with anybody's votes. Let's just add a ton of our own, all in favor of Barack Obama. In the last, 600 we put in here, 1,000, whatever, set it to Obama, every single machine. We don't even have to mess with anyone else's vote. Thus, creating additional votes. And now that I've read this article, I think that's exactly what happened. And are all these machines taken out of all the states? Not even close. They'll be on standby, ready to go again at the earliest convenience. So, I'm going to stop now. Take care.